Hey guys, tonight we're stepping back into a world where your entire future was decided before you took your first breath, where the circumstances of your birth determine not just who you'd marry, but when, where, and why. You're about to discover the intricate web of preparation that medieval women navigated from childhood to the altar, a journey filled with lessons, expectations, and traditions that shaped every aspect of their existence. The story may solve mysteries you never had an explanation for about why certain customs persist even today. So, before you explore the story with me, please take a moment to help me subscribe to the channel, like and share this video, or maybe leave a comment below. But make sure you do it when you really like what I bring to you. Feel free to comment where and when you started watching this video, or maybe give a compliment. Now, let's keep the lights as soft as possible. Turn on the fan for a gentle sound to help the story feel more emotional, and let's embark on tonight's journey together. You are born into a world where your bloodline speaks before you ever utter a word. The moment you draw breath in your family's manor house, scribes are already documenting your lineage in heavy leather-bound books, tracing lines that stretch back through generations of noble marriages, strategic alliances, and carefully cultivated power. Your parents examine your tiny features not just with parental love, but with the calculating eyes of diplomats, wondering which family traits might make you more attractive to future suitors. Your noble birth certificate isn't just a record, it's a marketing document. Every ancestor listed represents a potential connection, a doorway into another family's wealth and influence. You're not simply their daughter, you're a living embodiment of centuries of careful breeding, political maneuvering, and social climbing. Your great-grandmother's marriage to a duke's third son suddenly becomes relevant again because that connection might prove valuable when negotiating your own future. The genealogy lessons begin before you can properly hold a quill. You sit in the Great Hall while elderly relatives recite family histories with the precision of court historians. You learn that your great-aunt married into the French nobility, that your cousin twice removed has connections to the royal court, and that your maternal grandfather once saved a baron's life in battle. These aren't just family stories, they're your credentials, the proof of your worthiness to marry into other noble houses. Your parents study other families with the intensity of military strategists planning a siege. They know which lords have sons approaching marriageable age, which families are rising in power, and which alliances would strengthen their own position. Marriage negotiations often begin when potential brides and grooms are still learning to walk, with parents exchanging letters about theoretical unions that might take place 15 years in the future. The bloodline charts hanging in your father's study become as familiar as the tapestries adorning your bedchamber walls. You trace the interconnected lines with your small finger, following marriages that created kingdoms and alliances that toppled enemies. Each connection represents a story of ambition, love, betrayal, or political necessity, and you begin to understand that your own story will eventually join this vast tapestry of noble relationships. Your family's heraldic symbols are embroidered into your clothing, carved into your furniture, and painted onto your personal belongings. You learn to recognize not just your own coat of arms, but those of dozens of other noble families, because understanding these visual languages of power will prove essential when navigating the complex social hierarchies of medieval court life. The colors, animals, and geometric patterns aren't just decorative. They're a sophisticated communication system that announces allegiances, claims, and aspirations. The pressure of bloodline expectations weighs heavily on your small shoulders. You're constantly reminded that you carry not just your own reputation, but the honor of every ancestor who came before you. A single misstep, One poorly chosen word or inappropriate gesture could damage relationships your family has spent generations building. You learn to move through the world with careful deliberation, understanding that you're always representing something larger than yourself. Your family's coat of arms becomes as familiar to you as your own reflection. You trace its symbols with your finger, memorizing every detail because this heraldic design will determine which doors open for you and which remain forever closed. Noble families guard their bloodlines like precious treasures, and your family tree becomes a map of your future possibilities. The morning lessons include not just reading and arithmetic, but detailed studies of family alliances and political relationships. Your tutor points to various noble houses on large maps, explaining how marriages created trade routes, secured military support, and established diplomatic immunity. You discover that your aunt's marriage to a northern lord wasn't just romantic, it secured grain supplies during harsh winters and military assistance during border disputes. Historians still argue whether medieval parents genuinely loved their children or viewed them primarily as political assets, but surviving letters suggest the reality was more complex than either extreme. Your parents might adore you personally while simultaneously calculating your strategic value. Experiencing genuine affection alongside practical concerns about advantageous marriages, the quirky reality of noble lineage meant that sometimes distant relationships carried more weight than close ones. A connection to minor royalty 3 generations back could prove more valuable than a wealthy but recently ennobled great uncle. Families kept detailed records of even the most remote noble connections, creating elaborate family tree that resembled military campaign maps and the more than simple genealogies. You grow up understanding that your bloodline isn't just about the past, it's about the future. Every noble family is playing a generational game, using marriages to climb higher up the social ladder, secure better lands, and forge stronger political alliances. Your eventual children will inherit not just your husband's name, but a combined bloodline that represents the merged ambitions of 2 families. The weight of ancestral expectation shapes your daily life in countless small ways. You're taught to carry yourself with the dignity befitting your station, to speak with the authority your bloodline grants you, and to never forget that you represent centuries of noble heritage. Your posture, your voice, even your laugh must reflect the quality of your breeding. Your parents' marriage serves as both example and warning. You observe how their union brought together 2 family lines, creating new opportunities while sometimes generating unexpected tensions. You witness firsthand how marriage transforms individual identity into something larger and more complex. A lesson that prepares you for your own future transformation from daughter to wife. The evening conversations around the great hall fireplace invariably turn to discussions of other noble families, their recent marriages, their political fortunes, and their available children. You listen carefully as your parents and their guests analyze which alliances succeeded and which failed, learning the subtle art of evaluating marriage prospects not just for personal compatibility, but for strategic advantage. As you move through childhood, the significance of your noble birth becomes increasingly apparent. Other children defer to your status. Servants address you with particular respect, and visiting nobles take special note of your development. You're not just growing up, you're being cultivated, shaped into the perfect representative of your family's ambitions and the ideal partner for some future strategic alliance. The steady rhythm of your needle-piercing fabric becomes the soundtrack of your daily existence, a gentle percussion that marks the passing hours as surely as the monastery bells echoing across the countryside. You sit beside tall windows where morning light streams across your embroidery frame. your small fingers learning to navigate silk threads through linen with the precision that will one day demonstrate your worthiness as a wife. The needle feels heavy in your young hands at first, but gradually becomes as natural as holding a quill or lifting a goblet. Your mother watches from her own embroidery chair, occasionally reaching over to guide your stitches or untangle a particularly stubborn knot. She explains that needlework isn't simply about creating beautiful objects, it's about proving your patience, your attention to detail, and your ability to persevere through tedious tasks without complaint. Future mothers-in-law will examine your handiwork like scholars studying manuscripts, searching for evidence of your character hidden within the evenness of your stitches. The embroidery patterns you learn carry deep significance beyond their aesthetic appeal. Each design tells a story, represents a virtue, or symbolizes a hope for your future marriage. You stitch roses for love, doves for peace, and intertwining vines for fertility and abundance. Your needlework becomes a silent language, communicating your aspirations and values to anyone skilled enough to read the symbols woven into your creations. The fabrics themselves speak of your family's wealth and connections. Fine silk threads imported from distant lands glisten under your needle, while golden threads, literally containing real gold, add shimmer to your most important pieces. You learn to appreciate the subtle differences between various materials, the smoothness of silk, the durability of linen, the warmth of wool, and the luxury of threads dyed with expensive pigments that cost more than most families earn in months. Your needlework education begins with simple running stitches and basic patterns, but gradually expands to include complex techniques that require years to master. You learn the intricacies of chain stitch, the elegance of French knots, and the challenges of couching metallic threads. Each technique demands its own level of skill and patience, and mastering them all becomes a testament to your dedication and refinement. The specialized tools of needlework fill ornate wooden boxes that accompany you wherever embroidery lessons take place. Needles of varying sizes for different thread weights, sharp scissors with decorative handles, thimbles carved from bone or fashioned from silver, and small hoops for keeping fabric taut. Each tool serves a specific purpose and requires proper maintenance. You learn to keep needles sharp, scissors clean, and thimbles properly fitted. Understanding that quality tools produce quality work, the tapestry loom dominates one corner of the solar, and you spend countless hours learning to work its complex mechanisms. Creating tapestries requires understanding not just individual stitches, but how thousands of tiny coloured threads combine to form larger images and scenes. You begin with small sections, a flower, a bird, a section of sky, before gradually taking on more ambitious projects that might take months or even years to complete. Your fingers develop calluses from constant contact with needles and rough threads, battle scars that mark you as someone serious about mastering these essential feminine arts. You learn to work through minor injuries, pricked fingers, strained wrists, aching shoulders from hours bent over detailed work, understanding that a noble woman's dedication to her needlework must overcome mere physical discomfort. The seasonal rhythm of needlework projects mirrors the agricultural calendar outside your windows. Spring brings delicate floral patterns worked in fresh greens and soft pastels, while summer allows for complex outdoor scenes featuring hunting parties or garden gatherings. Autumn needlework focuses on harvest themes and preparation for darker months, while winter projects tend toward religious subjects and indoor domestic scenes that reflect the contemplative nature of the cold season. The social aspect of needlework proves as important as the technical skills. You join other noble daughters in communal sewing sessions, where conversations flow as freely as the threads through fabric. These gatherings become informal schools where you learn not just embroidery techniques, but gossip about eligible bachelors, advice about managing households, and warnings about which families to approach or avoid in marriage negotiations. Historians still argue whether medieval women genuinely enjoyed needlework or simply endured it as necessary training. But surviving pieces suggest that many found real artistic satisfaction in their creations. The complexity and beauty of extant medieval embroideries indicate that their creators invested far more effort and creativity than mere obligation would require. Your needlework projects serve multiple purposes beyond skill demonstration. The linens you embroider will eventually fill your marriage chest, providing household essentials decorated with your personal touch. The altar cloths you create might be donated to churches in your family's name, displaying your piety alongside your skill. The decorative pieces you complete could serve as diplomatic gifts, strengthening relationships between your family and potential allies. The peculiar medieval belief that needlework could influence a woman's character meant that certain stitches were considered more virtuous than others. Straight, even stitches supposedly encourage honesty and reliability, while intricate knotwork was thought to develop problem-solving abilities. Whether you believe these connections or not, you're expected to practice them as though your moral development depends on your embroidery technique. You learn to work by candlelight when necessary, squinting at delicate stitches as flames flicker and cast dancing shadows across your fabric. This skill becomes essential during winter months, when daylight hours shrink and indoor work continues, regardless of lighting conditions. Your eyes strain and water, but you persist, understanding that a truly accomplished needlewoman must be able to work in any conditions. The competitive aspect of needlework adds another layer to your education. Other noble daughters display their creations at social gatherings, and subtle comparisons are inevitable. Your work is examined not just for technical skill, but for creativity, choice of materials, and appropriateness of design. A poorly executed piece or questionable pattern choice could damage your reputation and marriage prospects for years. The mathematical precision required for complex needlework patterns develops your understanding of geometry and proportion and spatial relationships. You learn to calculate thread requirements for large projects, plan color gradations that create realistic shading effects, and design original patterns that demonstrate both creativity and technical understanding. These mathematical skills prove valuable in other areas of household management, from planning feasts to organizing storage spaces. Your needlework teachers include not just family members, but professional embroiderers hired specifically to advance your skills. These craftswomen bring techniques from different regions and traditions, expanding your repertoire beyond local styles. They teach you trade secrets passed down through generations of skilled artisans, knowledge that transforms your needlework from amateur attempts into professional quality creations. The storage and care of your needlework requires almost as much attention as creating it. You learn to fold delicate pieces properly, store them with herbs that repel insects, and protect them from sunlight that could fade expensive dyes. Your growing collection of completed works represents not just hours of labor, but a substantial financial investment in materials and education. Religious themes dominate many of your needlework projects, from biblical scenes to saints' symbols to prayers worked in elaborate scripts. These pieces demonstrate your piety and familiarity with the religious stories, qualities that potential in-laws consider essential in a future daughter-in-law. Your abilities to translate complex theological concepts into visual needlework proves your education and spiritual sophistication. The physical demands of constant needlework shape your body in subtle ways. Your posture adapts to long hours bent over embroidery frames. Your fingers develop extraordinary dexterity and sensitivity, and your eyes learn to focus on minute details for extended periods. These adaptations mark you as someone trained in the feminine arts, visible signs of your preparation for noble marriage. As your skills advance, you begin creating pieces intended as gifts for your future husband and in-laws. Though you don't yet know their identities, these speculative creations hedge your bets, featuring designs appealing to various tastes and incorporating symbols meaningful to different noble houses. Your needlework becomes a form of courtship conducted through thread and fabric, silent arguments for your desirability as a marriage partner. The chapel bells summon you before dawn breaks across the manor grounds, their bronze voices calling you to the first of many daily prayers that will shape your soul into the perfect vessel for Christian marriage. You kneel on cold stone floors, your breath visible in the morning air as you recite Latin phrases that flow from your lips like sacred music. The words of the Ave Maria and Pater Noster become as familiar as your own name, each syllable pronounced with the careful precision that marks you as a properly educated noblewoman. Your religious education begins with simple prayers learned at your mother's knee, but gradually expands into a comprehensive understanding of Christian doctrine, church calendar, and theological concepts that will guide your future role as a wife and mother. You memorize not just the basic prayers, but complex liturgical responses, psalm verses for specific occasions, and the intricate web of saints' feast days that punctuate the medieval year. The Latin lessons interweave with your religious instruction, creating a foundation of scholarship that elevates you above common women who can neither read sacred texts nor participate fully in church services. You learn to conjugate verbs that describe divine actions, decline nouns that name celestial beings, and construct sentences that express theological concepts with scholarly precision. Your tutor, often a learned cleric, guides you through the grammatical complexities that unlock the meaning of religious texts. Your prayer book becomes your most treasured possession, a beautifully illuminated manuscript filled with devotions specifically chosen for young noblewomen preparing for marriage. The pages gleam with gold leaf and vibrant pigments, transforming your daily prayers into encounters with sacred art. You trace the decorated letters with your finger while reciting the accompanying texts, absorbing both the visual beauty and spiritual meaning of these carefully crafted devotions. The memorization of religious texts requires techniques that medieval educators developed specifically for young minds. You learn to associate Latin phrases with familiar melodies, creating mental songs that help you remember complex theological concepts. Visual mnemonics connect abstract spiritual ideas with concrete images, while repetitive recitation builds the muscle memory that allows prayers to flow automatically during times of stress or emotional upheaval. The hours of the canonical day structure your existence like the framework of a great cathedral, providing rhythm and meaning to each portion of your waking life. You rise from matins in the deep darkness before dawn, join the household for lauds as a morning light touches the chapel windows, and continue through prime, terce, sext, nun, vespers, and compline as the sun travels its celestial arc. Each service offers specific prayers, readings, and meditations that prepare your soul for the spiritual responsibilities of married life. Your devotional practices extend far beyond mandatory chapel attendance to include private prayers, meditation periods, and acts of personal piety that demonstrate your genuine commitment to Christian virtue. You learn to examine your conscience daily, confess your sins regularly, and seek guidance from spiritual advisors who help you navigate the complex relationship between worldly obligations and heavenly aspirations. The intricate calendar of religious observances becomes second nature as you learn to anticipate feast days, fast periods, and seasonal celebrations that will mark your future household's spiritual rhythm. You understand that Advent requires different prayers than Lent, that Marian feast days call for specific devotions, and that saints' days associated with various trades and crafts provide opportunities for targeted intercession and thanksgiving. The lives of female saints provide both inspiration and instruction for your spiritual development. You study the stories of St. Catherine, who combined learning with holiness, St. Margaret, who exemplified courage in the face of adversity, and St. Anne, whose role as mother and grandmother makes her a particularly relevant model for your future domestic life. These holy women offer examples of how to balance spiritual devotion with the practical demands of family and household management. Historians still argue whether medieval religious education for women was primarily about genuine spiritual development or social control, but surviving evidence suggests that many noble women developed deep, personal relationships with their faith that sustained them through the challenges of medieval life. Their private prayer books, filled with personal annotations and requests for intercession, reveal authentic spiritual seeking beyond mere social conformity. Your understanding of church doctrine grows increasingly sophisticated as you mature, moving beyond simple catechism to grasp complex theological concepts about marriage as a sacrament, the role of divine providence in human relationships, and the spiritual significance of your future duties as wife and mother. You learn that your marriage will be not just a social contract, but a sacred covenant that reflects the mystical union between Christ and his church. The peculiar medieval practice of devotional reading includes not just religious texts, but secular works that have been interpreted through Christian allegory. You read stories of courtly love that are simultaneously tales of human romance and metaphors for the soul's relationship with divine love, developing the intellectual flexibility to find spiritual meaning in apparently worldly narratives. Your charitable activities begin as simple acts of Christian duty, but gradually develop into sophisticated understanding of social responsibility and moral obligation. You accompany your mother on visits to the poor, learning to distribute alms with dignity and compassion while maintaining appropriate social distance. These experiences teach you that noble privilege comes with spiritual obligations to care for those less fortunate. The practice of pilgrimage, even in miniature form through visits to local shrines and holy sites, teaches you about spiritual journey as both literal travel and metaphorical progress toward divine grace. You learn the prayers appropriate to different sacred locations, the proper etiquette for approaching relics and holy images, and the art of spiritual meditation that transforms physical movement into opportunities for divine encounter. The confession booth becomes a regular destination where you practice the difficult art of honest self-examination and spiritual communication. You learn to articulate your failings with precision, accept penance with humility, and emerge with the clean conscience that marks a properly prepared Christian soul. Your confessor, often the family chaplain, guides your spiritual development with the same care that other tutors devote to your secular education. Religious feast days punctuate your year with elaborate celebrations that combine spiritual observance with social display. You learn the special prayers, traditional foods, and ceremonial clothing appropriate to each holy day, understanding that your future household will look to you for guidance in maintaining these important religious traditions. Easter, Christmas, Pentecost, and the various Marian feasts each require specific preparations and observances that demonstrate your religious sophistication. Your knowledge of biblical stories extends far beyond simple moral tales to include complex understanding of typology, allegory, and theological interpretation that marks you as genuinely educated rather than merely devout. You learn to find spiritual meaning in Old Testament narratives that prefigure Christian truths, to interpret parables with nuanced understanding of their multiple meanings, and to apply scriptural wisdom to the practical challenges of daily life. The art of religious embroidery combines your needlework skills with spiritual devotion, creating altar cloths, vestments, and devotional hangings that serve both artistic and religious purposes. You learn the symbolic meaning of various colours, the appropriate decorative motifs for different church seasons, and the technical skills required to work with precious metallic threads that create fitting ornaments for divine worship. Your religious education includes practical knowledge about church architecture, liturgical objects, and ceremonial procedures that will help you fulfill your future role as a noble household spiritual leader. You learn to distinguish between different types of chalices, understand the significance of various architectural features, and participate knowledgeably in religious ceremonies that mark important family occasions. The development of personal devotional practices allows you to cultivate an individual relationship with divine authority while maintaining perfect conformity to church teachings. You learn to balance private spiritual experiences with public religious observance, finding personal meaning within established forms while never questioning fundamental doctrines or challenging clerical authority. Your religious instruction prepares you not just for personal salvation, but for the responsibility of guiding your future household's spiritual life. You learn to lead family prayers, organize charitable activities, and maintain the religious traditions that mark your family's status and virtue. Your spiritual education becomes preparation for a leadership role that extends far beyond personal piety into social and moral influence over everyone who will depend on your guidance and example. The massive iron keys hanging from your mother's belt jangle softly as she moves through the manor's corridors, each key representing a responsibility that will one day transfer to your own hands. You follow her closely during these daily rounds, learning to read the subtle subtle signs that indicate when servants are working efficiently and when they require closer supervision. The art of household management reveals itself as a complex dance of authority, diplomacy, and practical knowledge that determines whether a noble family thrives or merely survives. Your education in domestic authority begins with understanding the intricate hierarchy that governs every aspect of manor life. You learn to distinguish between the head cook and kitchen maids, the steward and stable boys, the lady's maid and scullery servants, each position carrying specific duties and privileges that must be respected while maintaining clear lines of command. The household staff watches you carefully during these learning sessions, already evaluating your potential as their future mistress. The morning inventory walks become your introduction to the overwhelming complexity of managing a medieval household's resources. You trail behind your mother as she counts barrels of grain, examines stored meat for signs of spoilage, and calculates how much flour remains before the next market day. Every item in the manor's extensive storage areas requires careful tracking, from expensive spices that cost their weight in silver to basic supplies like candles, soap, and rushes for floor covering. Your mother explains that a successful household manager must think months ahead, anticipating seasonal needs and planning purchases that take advantage of favourable prices. You learn that buying grain immediately after harvest costs less than purchasing it during winter months, that preserving meat requires salt obtained during specific seasons, and that certain luxury items only arrive with particular merchant caravans that visit your region once or twice yearly. The ledger books that record household expenses become your first introduction to practical mathematics applied to daily life. You learn to calculate the cost of feeding different numbers of guests, to budget for seasonal celebrations that require special foods and decorations, and to track the wages paid to various servants whose skills command different compensation levels. These numerical skills prove as essential as any other aspect of your education. The kitchen becomes your classroom for understanding the complex logistics of feeding a noble household and its frequent guests. You observe how the head cook plans meals that use available ingredients efficiently while maintaining the elaborate presentations expected at noble tables. The timing required to serve multiple courses simultaneously, each dish arriving at the perfect temperature, demonstrates organizational skills that rival military campaign planning. Historians still argue whether medieval women truly controlled household management or merely implemented their husbands' financial decisions. But surviving household records suggest that many noblewomen wielded considerable economic authority within their domestic sphere. The detailed accounts kept by medieval ladies reveal sophisticated understanding of commerce, investment, and resource management that shaped their family's prosperity. Your training in servant management requires learning the delicate balance between authority and fairness that keeps household staff loyal and productive. You observe how your mother addresses different servants according to their positions and personalities, when to offer praise for exceptional work, and how to deliver criticism that corrects problems without destroying morale. The servant's respect must be earned through competence and consistency, not demanded through harsh treatment. The seasonal rhythm of household management teaches you to anticipate and prepare for predictable challenges that accompany different times of year. Spring cleaning requires organizing massive efforts to refresh the entire manor after winter's confinement. Summer demands coordinating preservation activities that store food for colder months. Autumn brings harvest celebrations that strain kitchen resources, and winter necessitates careful rationing of stored supplies while maintaining household morale during dark months. The peculiar medieval custom of hospitality means that your household must always be prepared to receive unexpected guests whose social rank demands appropriate accommodation and entertainment. You learn to maintain guest chambers in constant readiness, to expand meal preparations quickly when visitors arrive, and to organize entertainment suitable for different types of guests, from neighboring nobles to traveling clergy to merchant partners. Your education includes understanding the complex web of relationships between your household and the broader community that surround your family's estates. You learn which local craftsmen provide the best services, which merchants offer fair prices and reliable quality, and which neighbouring families might provide mutual assistance during emergencies or celebrations that exceed your household's independent capabilities. The management of textile production within the household requires coordinating the work of spinners, weavers, and seamstresses who create everything from basic clothing for servants to elaborate garments for family members. You learn to evaluate the quality of different fabrics, to plan clothing production that anticipates seasonal needs and social occasions, and to maintain the extensive wardrobes that reflect your family's status and wealth. The herb garden becomes your outdoor classroom where you learn to cultivate and harvest the medicinal and culinary plants that supply your household's basic healthcare and cooking needs. You memorize which herbs treat common ailments, how to dry and store them properly, and when to harvest different plants for maximum potency. This knowledge makes you responsible for your household's health and nutrition in an era when professional medical care remains scarce and expensive. Your training in event planning begins with small family celebrations but gradually expands to include elaborate feasts that might host dozens of guests for multiple days. You learn to coordinate food preparation, sleeping arrangements, entertainment, and the complex logistics of serving meals that demonstrate your family's wealth and sophistication, while ensuring that every guest receives appropriate treatment according to their social rank. The financial aspects of household management introduce you to concepts of credit, debt, and investment that extend far beyond simple expense tracking. You learn how to negotiate with merchants who extend credit between market days, how to invest surplus household resources in activities that generate additional income, and how to manage the complex financial relationships that connect your household to the broader medieval economy. The supervision of seasonal preservation activities requires understanding traditional techniques for storing food without refrigeration. You learn the salt ratios that preserve different types of meat, the proper methods for smoking fish and fowl, the storage conditions that keep fruits and vegetables fresh through winter months, and the brewing and fermentation processes that provide safe beverages when water quality becomes questionable. Your education in household security teaches you to protect your family's wealth and safety through careful management of access, valuable storage, and servant trustworthiness. You learn which items require locked storage, how to verify servant references and character, and how to maintain household defences against both external threats and internal theft that could devastate your family's resources. The coordination of religious observances within your household adds another layer to your management responsibilities. You learn to plan special meals for religious feast days, to organise household participation in seasonal celebrations, and to maintain the devotional activities that demonstrate your family's piety while accommodating the practical needs of daily life that continue even during religious observances. As your skills develop, you begin taking independent responsibility for specific aspects of household management, starting with simple tasks like supervising laundry or organising storage areas before progressing to more complex challenges like planning meals or managing servant schedules. These graduated responsibilities prepare you for the complete authority you'll eventually wield over your own household. The delicate strings of your lute vibrate under your fingertips as you practice the intricate melodies that will demonstrate your refinement to future suitors and their families. The instrument rests gracefully in your lap, its polished wood gleaming in the afternoon light that streams through the solar's tall windows, while you concentrate on achieving the perfect balance between technical precision and emotional expression that marks a truly accomplished musician. Your fingers dance across the strings with increasing confidence, each note a small step toward the musical mastery that noble society expects from well-bred daughters. Your musical education begins with simple songs and gradually progresses to complex compositions that challenge both your technical skills and artistic sensibilities. You learn popular ballads that tell stories of courtly love and chivalric adventure, sacred hymns that demonstrate your religious devotion, and instrumental pieces that showcase your technical prowess without requiring vocal performance. Each piece serves a specific social function, from entertaining guests at intimate gatherings to participating in elaborate court ceremonies. The psaltery, with its distinctive triangular shape and ethereal tone, becomes another voice in your growing musical repertoire. You learn to pluck its numerous strings with both fingers and plectrum, creating haunting melodies that seem to float through the air like whispered prayers. The instrument's association with religious music makes it particularly appropriate for noble ladies, allowing you to display musical skill while maintaining the pious image essential to your marriage prospects. Your vocal training develops alongside your instrumental skills, as medieval society expects accomplished women to sing as beautifully as they play. You learn to control your breathing for sustained phrases, to project your voice without seeming unladylike, and to modulate your tone to match different musical styles. Your voice becomes another instrument requiring constant practice and careful maintenance, especially during the years when it changes and matures. The music lessons provide more than entertainment value. They become exercises in discipline, memory, and coordination that develop cognitive abilities useful in other areas of your education. Learning to read musical notation requires the same attention to detail that serves you well in needlework. while memorizing complex songs strengthens the mental faculties you'll need for household management and social navigation. Your music teacher, often a skilled musician retained specifically for your education, brings professional techniques and repertoire that elevate your abilities beyond amateur level. This instructor might be a travelling minstrel with court connections, a cleric with musical training, or even a noble lady whose own musical accomplishments qualify her to teach others. The teacher's background influences your musical education's character and the specific pieces you learn. Historians still argue whether medieval musical education for women was primarily about artistic development or social display, but surviving compositions and contemporary accounts suggest that many noble women developed genuine musical passion alongside their technical skills. Some even composed original pieces, though few of these works survived the centuries that followed their creation. The social aspects of musical performance require learning appropriate repertoire for different occasions and audiences. You discover that certain songs suit intimate family gatherings, while others work better for larger celebrations. That religious music has its proper place while secular entertainment serves different functions, and that your musical choices reflect both your personality and your family's values. Your practice sessions become daily disciplines that require the same dedication you bring to other aspects of your education. The calluses that develop on your fingertips from constant string contact, the slight ache in your shoulders from holding instruments properly, and the vocal exercises that strengthen your singing voice all mark you as someone serious about musical accomplishment rather than merely dabbling in fashionable skills. The peculiar medieval belief that music could influence character and morality means that your musical education includes instruction about which musical modes promote virtue and which might encourage inappropriate emotions. Certain scales are considered more suitable for young ladies, while others are deemed too passionate or melancholic for proper feminine expression, adding an ethical dimension to your artistic training. The memorization required for extensive musical repertoire develops mental capacities that serve you well in other areas of education and future responsibilities. Learning dozens of songs by heart strengthens your memory for poetry, prayers, household inventories, and the countless details that managing a noble estate requires. Musical memory becomes a foundation for intellectual development that extends far beyond entertainment. Your musical instruments become precious possessions that require careful maintenance and protection. You learn to keep strings properly tuned, to protect wooden instruments from humidity changes, and to store your music safely from damage or theft. The value of quality instruments means that your musical education represents a substantial family investment in your marriage prospects and social standing. The performance opportunities that arise during your musical education provide early experiences with the social pressures and expectations you'll face throughout your adult life. Playing for family guests, participating in religious ceremonies, and entertaining visiting nobles teach you to manage performance anxiety while maintaining the graceful composure expected from women of your station. The dance accompaniment that your musical skills provide adds another dimension to your social value, as you learn to play music that supports dancing, while understanding the steps and rhythms that make different dances successful. This coordination between musical and physical skills demonstrates the comprehensive nature of your artistic education and your ability to contribute to social entertainment. Your musical repertoire expands to include pieces from different regions and traditions, reflecting the international connections that characterize medieval noble culture. You might learn songs from France, Germany, or Italy, demonstrating cultural sophistication that impresses guests and potential marriage partners while showing your family's broad educational investments. The improvisational skills that develop from musical training teach you to adapt gracefully to unexpected situations, whether musical or social. learning to embellish melodies, to adjust your performance based on audience response, and to recover smoothly from mistakes builds confidence and flexibility that serve you well in the complex social situations that define noble life. The seasonal celebrations that punctuate the medieval year provide regular opportunities to display your musical accomplishments while contributing to your family's reputation for hospitality and culture. Christmas carols, Easter hymns, harvest songs, and other seasonal music demonstrate your ability to enhance important family and community celebrations through artistic contribution. Your musical education includes understanding the symbolic and allegorical meanings embedded in many medieval songs. From religious pieces that teach theological concepts through melody and verse to secular compositions that explore themes of love, honor, and social responsibility. This interpretive knowledge allows you to choose appropriate music for different occasions, while understanding the deeper meanings your musical choices communicate. The physical grace that musical performance requires complements your other training in deportment and social presentation, learning to hold instruments elegantly, to maintain proper posture during long performances, and to move gracefully while singing develops the physical refinement that marks you as properly educated for noble society. As your musical skills mature, you begin to understand how music serves diplomatic and social functions beyond mere entertainment. A well-chosen song can honor important guests, demonstrate cultural sophistication, or even communicate subtle political messages through carefully selected repertoire. Your musical education becomes preparation for wielding soft power through artistic accomplishment. The polished marble floors of the Great Hall become your dancing master as you learn the intricate steps that will mark you as a properly trained noblewoman worthy of the most prestigious marriage alliances. Your feet glide across the smooth stones in carefully measured patterns, while musicians play the stately rhythms that govern courtly movement. Each step a deliberate demonstration of grace, coordination, and social understanding that extends far beyond mere entertainment into the realm of political communication. Your dancing education begins with the fundamental understanding that every movement carries meaning in medieval noble society, where physical grace reflects inner virtue and social position. You learn that a properly executed curtsy communicates respect without subservience, that the angle of your head during formal greetings indicates your understanding of social hierarchies, and that the way you carry yourself while walking announces your breeding and education to everyone who observes your movement. The formal court dances require memorizing complex sequences of steps, turns, and gestures that coordinate with musical rhythms and other dancers' movements. You practice the stately pavan with its measured dignity, the lively galliard that showcases athletic grace, and the intricate branle that demands precise coordination with multiple partners. Each dance tells a story through the movement, creating living tableaus that entertain while demonstrating the participants' cultural sophistication. Your dancing master, often a professional instructor retained specifically for your education, brings knowledge of the latest court fashions and regional variations that keep your repertoire current and impressive. This teacher might travel between noble households, carrying news of dancing innovations from royal courts and major cities, ensuring that your skills reflect the most fashionable and politically relevant styles rather than outdated provincial traditions. The social aspects of dancing education prove as important as the physical skills, as you learn to navigate the complex etiquette that governs partner selection, interaction protocols, and the subtle communications that occur during formal dances. You discover how to decline invitations politely, how to encourage appropriate partners, and how to use dancing opportunities to advance your family's social and political objectives while maintaining perfect propriety. Your practice sessions develop not just physical coordination, but also the mental agility required to remember complex choreography, while simultaneously managing social interactions and maintaining awareness of your appearance and behavior. Dancing requires the same kind of multitasking that you'll need as a noble wife managing household affairs while entertaining guests and representing your family's interests. The costumes appropriate for different dances become another aspect of your education, as you learn which garments enhance your movements, which colours and fabrics create the most impressive visual effects, and how to coordinate your appearance with the specific requirements of various dance styles. Your dancing wardrobe represents a substantial investment in your social presentation and marriage prospects. Historians still argue whether medieval court dancing was primarily artistic expression or elaborate social ritual, but surviving dance manuals and contemporary accounts suggest that accomplished dancers found genuine pleasure in the physical and artistic challenges while recognizing the important social functions their skills served. The complexity and beauty of medieval choreography indicate that participants invested real passion in their dancing education. The physical demands of dancing training develop strength, flexibility, and endurance that complement your other educational activities while building the robust health that medieval society considers essential for successful childbearing. Your daily practice sessions become exercise routines that maintain your physical condition while developing the graceful carriage that marks you as properly trained for noble society. The peculiar medieval association between dancing ability and moral character means that your choreographic skills are interpreted as evidence of your self-discipline, cultural refinement, and ability to follow complex social rules. Excellent dancers are presumed to possess the patience, intelligence, and social sensitivity that make them desirable marriage partners and effective household managers. Your conversation skills develop alongside your dancing abilities, as court dances provide opportunities for carefully managed social interaction that allows you to practice the art of engaging conversation while maintaining perfect propriety. You learn to make pleasant small talk during dance intervals, to respond gracefully to compliments, and to use these brief social encounters to advance your family's relationships and your own reputation. The musical knowledge required for dancing excellence connects your choreographic education with your instrumental and vocal training, creating a comprehensive artistic foundation that demonstrates your cultural sophistication, understanding musical rhythms, recognizing different dance styles from their opening measures, and coordinating your movements with live musical performance requires the same kind of artistic sensitivity that marks you as genuinely accomplished rather than merely trained. The regional variations in dancing styles that you learn reflect the international connections that characterize medieval noble culture, as different courts develop distinctive choreographic traditions that reflect their political allegiances and cultural preferences. Your repertoire might include French court dances, Italian innovations, or Germanic folk traditions that have been elevated to noble status, demonstrating your family's broad cultural connections. The competitive aspects of dancing education add pressure and motivation to your training, as other noble daughters display their skills at the same social gatherings where you perform. Your dancing ability is inevitably compared with that of potential rivals for advantageous marriages, making technical excellence and artistic flair essential for maintaining your competitive position in the marriage market. The improvisational elements within formal dance structures teach you to adapt gracefully to unexpected situations while maintaining perfect coordination with your partners and the musical accompaniment. Learning to adjust your steps when others make mistakes, to embellish basic patterns with personal style, and to recover smoothly from minor errors builds confidence and flexibility that serve you well in other social situations. The symbolic meanings embedded in various dance movements add intellectual depth to your choreographic education, as you learn that certain gestures represent specific virtues, that particular formations communicate political relationships, and that the overall structure of formal dances reflects medieval understanding of social harmony and cosmic order. The performance opportunities that arise during your dancing education provide early experiences with the social evaluation and judgment that will characterize your adult life in noble society. Dancing at family celebrations, participating in seasonal festivals, and performing for important guests teach you to manage performance pressure while maintaining the graceful confidence that attracts favourable attention from potential marriage partners and their families. The diplomatic functions that dancing serves in medieval society mean that your choreographic skills become tools for advancing your family's political objectives and maintaining important social relationships. A graceful performance can honour distinguished guests, demonstrate cultural sophistication that impresses potential allies, or even communicate subtle political messages through carefully chosen dance partners and styles. Your dancing education includes understanding the appropriate occasions for different types of performance, from intimate family gatherings that call for simple, elegant movement to elaborate court ceremonies that demand complex choreography and perfect coordination with dozens of other participants. This social awareness allows you to choose appropriate dancing styles that enhance rather than detract from important family occasions. As your dancing skills mature, you begin to understand how physical grace serves as a form of non-verbal communication that can be more persuasive than words in many social situations. Your ability to move with elegant confidence, to coordinate smoothly with partners, and to present yourself as the embodiment of noble refinement becomes a powerful tool for achieving your family's social and political objectives while advancing your own marriage prospects. The herb garden behind the manor's kitchen becomes your outdoor classroom, where you learn to distinguish between plants that heal and those that harm, developing the botanical knowledge that will make you your future household's primary source of medical care. You kneel among the neat rows of medicinal plants, their pungent scents filling your nostrils as you memorize the subtle differences between similar-looking herbs that can mean the difference between recovery and disaster. Your fingers learn to identify plants by touch when visual recognition fails, developing the tactile sensitivity that allows experienced healers to gather correct herbs even in dim lighting. Your herbal education begins with basic plant identification, starting with common healing herbs like chamomile for digestive troubles, lavender for headaches and anxiety, and willow bark for reducing fever and pain. You learn to observe flowering patterns, leaf shapes, and growth habits that distinguish therapeutic plants from dangerous imposters, understanding that a single mistake in identification could poison rather than heal your future patients. The seasonal cycle of herb gathering becomes deeply embedded in your understanding of household management, as different plants must be harvested at specific times to achieve maximum potency. You learn that some herbs work best when picked during particular moon phases, that others require morning collection while dew still clings to their leaves, and that proper timing can dramatically affect the strength and effectiveness of herbal remedies. Your knowledge of women's health issues receives particular attention as you'll eventually become responsible for assisting with childbirth, treating menstrual difficulties, and managing the various ailments that affect women throughout their lives. You learn which herbs ease labour pains, which ones help prevent miscarriage, and which combinations support nursing mothers while avoiding substances that could harm infants through breast milk. The preparation techniques that transform raw plants into effective medicines require understanding traditional methods passed down through generations of wise women. You learn to dry herbs properly to preserve their healing properties, to create tinctures that extract active compounds, and to combine different plants in ways that enhance their therapeutic effects while minimizing potential side effects or dangerous interactions. Your training includes recognizing the symptoms of common diseases and injuries that you'll need to treat in your future household, from simple cuts and burns to more serious conditions like pneumonia, dysentery, and the mysterious fevers that regularly sweep through medieval communities. Each condition requires different herbal approaches, and your education emphasizes matching appropriate remedies to specific symptoms and patient characteristics. The dosage calculations that determine whether herbs help or harm demand mathematical skills applied to medicine. As you learn that the same plant might heal in small amounts but poison in larger quantities, you memorize traditional measurements and preparation ratios while developing the judgment to adjust remedies based on patient age and size and condition severity. Historians still argue whether medieval women's herbal knowledge was primarily practical medicine or folk superstition, but surviving recipe collections and medical texts suggest that many noble women possessed sophisticated understanding of plant-based therapeutics that complemented and sometimes surpassed the treatments offered by university-trained physicians who rarely treated female patients. Your garden work develops practical skills in cultivation, harvesting, and storage that ensure your future household maintains reliable supplies of essential medicinal plants. You learn which herbs grow well in different soil conditions, how to protect delicate plants from weather extremes, and how to dry and store harvested materials to prevent spoilage or loss of potency during long winter months. The peculiar medieval belief that a woman's touch could influence herbal effectiveness means that your emotional and spiritual state during plant preparation becomes part of your medical education. You learn to approach herbal work with calm confidence, to pray or meditate while creating remedies, and to maintain the positive mental attitude that medieval healers consider essential for therapeutic success. Your knowledge extends beyond treating illness to include preventive measures that maintain household health through proper nutrition, sanitation, and lifestyle management. You learn which herbs add both flavor and medicinal value to daily meals, how to create tisanes that support general wellness, and how to use aromatic plants to purify air and repel disease-carrying insects. The psychological aspects of healing receive attention as you learn that patient confidence in treatment often influences recovery success, regardless of the remedy's inherent effectiveness. You practice the bedside manner that reassures frightened patients, the confident presentation that encourages trust in your abilities, and the communication skills that help you gather accurate information about symptoms and medical history. Your herbal education includes understanding which conditions exceed your capabilities and require professional medical intervention. As medieval society recognizes clear distinctions between household remedies appropriate for common ailments and serious diseases that demand university-trained physicians or experienced surgeons, knowing your limitations becomes as important as understanding your capabilities. The religious dimensions of healing work connect your herbal knowledge with your spiritual education. As medieval medicine acknowledges divine influence in both disease and recovery, you learn appropriate prayers to accompany medical treatments, understand the religious significance attributed to various healing plants, and develop the spiritual practices that medieval healers consider essential for accessing divine assistance in their work. The documentation of successful remedies and treatment outcomes creates the beginning of your personal medical reference collection. As you learn to record which preparations work best for specific conditions, which patients respond well to particular treatments, and which combinations prove most effective in your hands. This ongoing education continues throughout your adult life as you gain practical experience. Your training in surgical techniques covers basic procedures that household healers regularly perform, from cleaning and bandaging wounds to setting simple bone fractures and removing foreign objects from cuts. These skills require steady hands, strong stomach, and the confidence to act decisively during medical emergencies when professional help isn't immediately available. The poison identification that forms a crucial part of your herbal education teaches you to recognize dangerous plants that might be confused with beneficial herbs, understanding symptoms of various types of poisoning, and knowing antidotes that can counteract accidental ingestion of toxic substances. This knowledge protects both your household and your reputation as a healer. The networking aspects of herbal medicine connect you with other knowledgeable women who share remedies, techniques, and practical experience that enhances your education beyond what any single teacher could provide. These informal networks of female healers create supportive communities that continue your medical education throughout your adult life while providing consultation opportunities for difficult cases. Your understanding of mental and emotional ailments includes herbal approaches to treating melancholy, anxiety, and the various nervous conditions that medieval medicine recognizes as legitimate health concerns requiring therapeutic intervention. You learn which plants calm agitated minds, which ones lift depressed spirits, and how to create the supportive environment that promotes emotional healing alongside physical recovery. The preparation of beauty treatments that maintain and enhance physical appearance becomes another application of your herbal knowledge. As you learn to create skin preparations, hair treatments, and cosmetic applications that help maintain the attractive appearance that supports your social position and marriage prospects. These beauty applications demonstrate the versatility of plant-based preparations. As your herbal expertise develops, you begin to understand how medical knowledge serves as a form of power that enhances your value as a marriage partner, while providing practical social skills that will make you indispensable to your future household's welfare and survival in an era when professional medical care remains expensive, unreliable, and often ineffective compared to traditional plant-based remedies. The heavy leather-bound books that line your father's study walls represent a privilege that separates you from the vast majority of medieval women whose lives remain forever locked within the boundaries of illiteracy and dependence on others to interpret the written world. You trace your finger along lines of carefully inked letters, sounding out Latin phrases and vernacular words that slowly transform from mysterious symbols into gateways of knowledge, power, and independence that will serve you throughout your future married life. Your reading education begins with the fundamental understanding that literacy represents both opportunity and danger in medieval society, where knowledge brings power but also responsibility, and where too much learning might make you unsuitable for traditional feminine roles. Your family walks a careful line between providing you with enough education to make you an attractive marriage partner and avoiding the excessive scholarship that might frighten away potential suitors who prefer wives more decorative than intellectual. The primer that introduces you to basic letter recognition features religious texts carefully chosen to reinforce proper feminine values while teaching fundamental reading skills. You begin with simple prayers and psalms, gradually progressing to more complex religious writings that combine literacy instruction with spiritual education designed to shape your character according to medieval ideals of noble womanhood. Your writing lessons require mastering the physical skills of holding quills properly, mixing ink to appropriate consistency, and forming letters with the precision and beauty that mark educated nobility, the parchment beneath your careful strokes represents substantial expense, making every mark precious and demanding accuracy that prevents waste of costly materials imported from distant scriptoriums and carefully prepared by skilled craftsmen. The Latin that forms the foundation of your literary education opens doors to religious texts, legal documents, and scholarly works that remain inaccessible to those limited to vernacular languages. You memorize grammatical rules that govern this ancient tongue, learning to decline nouns and conjugate verbs that allow you to read the official documents, legal contracts, and religious writings that will affect your future life as a noble wife. Your penmanship develops into an art form that reflects your social position and personal refinement, as beautiful handwriting serves as evidence of proper education and careful training. You practice forming letters with consistent spacing, elegant flourishes, and the decorative elements that transform simple writing into visual art worthy of noble correspondence and important documents. The household accounts that your mother allows you to practice reading and writing provide early introduction to the financial literacy that will prove essential when managing your own estate. You learn to interpret records of income and expenses, to understand the accounting systems that track complex transactions, and to maintain the detailed financial records that determine whether noble households prosper or decline. Historians still argue whether medieval literacy education for women primarily served practical purposes or represented genuine intellectual development, but surviving examples of women's writing suggest that many noble women used their literary skills for personal expression, scholarly pursuits, and independent learning that extended far beyond basic household management requirements. The library access that accompanies your reading education exposes you to chronicles, romances, philosophical works, and practical manuals that expand your knowledge beyond immediate domestic concerns. You discover historical accounts that help you understand political relationships, romantic literature that explores complex emotional themes, and instructional texts that provide guidance for various aspects of noble life and household management. The peculiar medieval debate about appropriate reading materials for women means that your literary education must navigate carefully between texts considered beneficial for feminine development and those deemed potentially corrupting or inappropriate for unmarried daughters. Your reading list reflects these social anxieties while providing substantial intellectual stimulation within acceptable boundaries. Your correspondence skills develop alongside basic literacy, as you learn to compose letters that maintain family relationships, conduct business transactions, and manage the complex social networks that connect noble families across vast distances. Letter writing becomes a crucial tool for maintaining political alliances, arranging marriages, and managing estate affairs when physical presence isn't possible. The legal literacy that forms part of your advanced education teaches you to understand marriage contracts, property documents, and inheritance laws that will govern your future financial security and legal rights. This knowledge proves particularly important because medieval women's legal status depends heavily on their ability to understand and advocate for their own interests within complex legal systems. The religious texts that dominate your reading education include not just basic prayers and psalms, but complex theological works that deepen your spiritual understanding while demonstrating your intellectual capacity to engage with sophisticated religious concepts. Your ability to read and discuss advanced religious literature marks you as someone capable of providing spiritual leadership within your future household. The vernacular literature that supplements your Latin education includes romance stories, historical chronicles, and practical manuals written in your native language, providing entertainment and instruction that connects your literary skills to contemporary culture and social expectations. These texts often feature strong female characters who serve as models for navigating the challenges of noble life. The secretarial functions that educated noble women often perform for their families require developing skills in document preparation, record keeping, and official correspondence that support their fathers' and later their husbands' political and business activities. Your literacy becomes a valuable asset that enhances your family's administrative capabilities while preparing you for similar responsibilities in your own household. The censorship concerns that surround women's reading education mean that certain texts remain forbidden regardless of your literacy level, as medieval society fears that exposure to inappropriate ideas might corrupt feminine virtue or encourage inappropriate ambitions. Your reading remains carefully supervised to ensure that intellectual development doesn't conflict with social expectations. The translation skills that advanced literacy education provides allow you to access texts written in different languages, expanding your intellectual horizons beyond the limitations of any single linguistic tradition. You might learn to read French romances, Italian poetry, or Germanic chronicles that broaden your cultural understanding, while demonstrating sophisticated educational achievement. The manuscript illumination that often accompanies your writing education teaches you to create decorative elements that transform simple texts into beautiful artistic objects worthy of preservation and display. Your ability to combine textual and visual arts demonstrates comprehensive cultural education while producing objects that reflect your family's wealth and refinement. The scholarly discussions that your literacy enables allow you to participate in intellectual conversations with educated family members and guests, demonstrating your mental capabilities while remaining within appropriate feminine bounds. Your ability to discuss books, interpret texts, and engage with complex ideas marks you as an intellectually stimulating companion worthy of marriage to educated noblemen. The private reading that becomes possible once your literacy skills mature provides opportunities for personal intellectual development that continues throughout your adult life, allowing you to maintain and expand your education independently while fulfilling your duties as wife and household manager. Books become lifelong companions that offer guidance, entertainment, and intellectual stimulation during quiet moments away from public responsibilities. As your reading and writing abilities reach maturity, you begin to understand how literacy serves as a form of independence that allows you to access information, conduct business, and maintain relationships without depending entirely on others to interpret the written world that governs so much of medieval noble life. The bronze mirror held before your face reflects an image that must be carefully cultivated to meet the exacting beauty standards that determine your value in the medieval marriage market. You stare at your reflection while servants apply various treatments designed to enhance your natural features, understanding that physical attractiveness represents far more than personal vanity. It signals your family's wealth, your moral character, and your potential fertility in ways that could determine your entire future happiness and social position. Your beauty regimen begins each morning with careful attention to your complexion, as pale, unblemished skin serves as the primary marker of noble breeding and indoor refinement that separates from peasant women darkened by outdoor labour. You undergo treatments with whitening pastes made from ground pearls and egg whites. Avoid direct sunlight that might darken your carefully maintained pallor, and use various herbal preparations designed to remove any spots or discoloration that could detract from the porcelain perfection that medieval society prizes above all other physical attributes. The elaborate process of hair care consumes hours of daily attention, as your long tresses require washing with specialized soaps, conditioning with various oils and herbal rinses, and styling in ways that demonstrate both your personal beauty and your family's wealth. Your hair becomes a canvas for displaying expensive ornaments, precious metals, and rare gems that announce your father's prosperity while framing your face in ways calculated to maximize your attractiveness to potential suitors. Your dietary restrictions reflect medieval beliefs about the connection between physical beauty and moral character, as certain foods are considered beneficial for maintaining attractive appearance while others are thought to corrupt both body and soul. You avoid foods believed to coarsen your features, darken your complexion, or promote unseemly physical development, while consuming special preparations designed to enhance your beauty from within through proper nutrition and herbal supplements. The clothing that adorns your body serves multiple functions beyond basic protection from weather, displaying your family's wealth through expensive fabrics and elaborate construction, while shaping your physical form according to medieval ideals of feminine beauty. Your garments employ strategic padding, tight lacing, and structural elements that create the fashionable silhouette that announces your desirability as a marriage partner to anyone who observes your appearance. Your posture and deportment receive constant attention as you learn to move with the graceful elegance that transforms natural beauty into truly arresting presence capable of capturing and holding masculine attention. You practice walking with perfect balance, sitting with appropriate dignity, and maintaining the erect carriage that displays your physical assets while demonstrating the disciplined self-control that medieval society considers essential for proper feminine character. The cosmetic preparations that enhance your natural features require understanding traditional beauty recipes passed down through generations of noble women who perfected the art of feminine presentation. You learn to prepare lip tints from crushed berries, eye treatments brighten and define your gaze, and various powders and creams that smooth your complexion while adding subtle colour that appears natural rather than artificially applied. Historians still argue whether medieval beauty standards primarily reflected aesthetic preferences or served as markers of social status and reproductive fitness. But contemporary art and literature suggest that physical attractiveness carried deep symbolic meaning related to moral virtue, social position, and divine favour that extended far beyond simple masculine desire for beautiful women. Your beauty education includes understanding which physical features medieval society considers most attractive, and learning techniques for emphasizing your best attributes while minimizing any characteristics that might detract from your overall appeal. The shape of your face, the color of your eyes, the texture of your hair, and the proportions of your figure all receive careful analysis and strategic enhancement through various treatments and presentation methods. The peculiar medieval connection between physical beauty and spiritual virtue means that your appearance is interpreted as evidence of your moral character, making beauty maintenance a religious as well as practical obligation. You understand that maintaining attractive appearance demonstrates respect for divine creation, while fulfilling your duty to present yourself as worthily as possible for the sacred institution of marriage. Your bathing rituals combine practical hygiene with luxury treatments that soften your skin, perfume your body, and create the sensory appeal that medieval society considers essential for feminine attractiveness. You bathe in water scented with rose petals and aromatic herbs, use soaps enriched with expensive oils, and emerge from your ablutions refreshed and perfumed in ways that announce your refinement to anyone who comes near you. The seasonal adjustments to your beauty regimen reflect medieval understanding of how different weather conditions affect physical appearance and require modified treatment approaches. Summer beauty care focuses on protecting your complexion from sun damage and managing increased perspiration, while winter treatments emphasize maintaining skin moisture and preventing the chapping and roughness that cold weather can cause. The competitive aspects of beauty maintenance add pressure to your daily routines, as other noble daughters work equally hard to maximize their physical attractiveness for the same pool of eligible suitors who will choose wives based partly on appearance. Your beauty becomes a weapon in the subtle warfare of medieval marriage negotiations, where physical attractiveness can tip the balance between advantageous and disappointing matches. The medical theories that underlie medieval beauty practices connect your appearance to overall health and constitutional balance, as physicians believe that external beauty reflects internal harmony between the body's various humours and systems. Your beauty treatments often serve dual purposes as medical interventions designed to maintain both health and attractiveness through proper balance of bodily functions. The symbolic meanings embedded in various beauty elements allow you to communicate specific messages through your appearance choices. From the colours that announce your family's political allegiances to the styles that signal your availability for marriage or your personal virtues, your beauty becomes a sophisticated language that speaks to those educated enough to interpret its subtle messages. The expense involved in maintaining medieval beauty standards represents a substantial family investment in your marriage prospects, as the cosmetics, treatments, clothing, and ornaments required for competitive appearance cost more than many families earn in entire years. Your beauty literally embodies your family's wealth and commitment to securing the most advantageous possible marriage alliance. The time requirements for a proper beauty maintenance shape your daily schedule around the extensive treatments, exercises, and preparation rituals that transform natural appearance into the polished perfection that medieval society demands from noble daughters. Your beauty routine becomes a full-time occupation that requires dedication, patience, and the assistance of skilled servants who specialize in various aspects of feminine presentation. The psychological pressure of constant beauty vigilance affects your self-perception and confidence, as you learn to evaluate your appearance with the critical eye of potential critics while maintaining the positive self-image necessary for attractive presentation. You must balance realistic assessment of your physical attributes with the confidence that makes beauty truly compelling to masculine observers. The cultural variations in beauty standards that you encounter through contact with visitors from different regions expose you to alternative aesthetic ideals, while reinforcing your understanding of how appearance standards reflect broader cultural values and social expectations. Beauty becomes a window into different societies' beliefs about femininity, virtue, and social hierarchy. As your beauty reaches its peak during your marriageable years, you begin to understand how physical attractiveness serves as both gift and burden, opening doors to advantageous marriages while creating expectations and responsibilities that will shape your entire adult life in ways that extend far beyond simple aesthetic considerations into realms of social power, economic security, and personal happiness. The massive wooden chest that dominates one corner of your bedchamber slowly fills with the treasures that will accompany you into marriage. Each item carefully selected and lovingly prepared to demonstrate your family's wealth while providing the material foundation for your future household. You run your fingers over the fine linens embroidered with your family's coat of arms, the silver vessels that gleam in the candlelight, and the legal documents that transfer land and money into your future husband's control. Understanding that this collection represents far more than mere possessions, it embodies your value as a marriage partner and your security in an uncertain world. Your dowry preparation begins years before any specific marriage. Negotiations commence, as your family accumulates the goods, money, and property rights that will make you an attractive prospect for advantageous alliances. You watch servants carefully fold precious fabrics into protective wrappings, Catalogue jewellery pieces according to their value and significance, and update inventory lists that document every item destined to leave your family's possession when you marry. The textiles that form the largest portion of your dowry represent months or years of careful needlework, expensive purchases, and strategic gifts that demonstrate both your family's wealth and your personal accomplishments. Bed linens embroidered with intricate patterns, table coverings that display your artistic skills, and clothing suitable for a noble wife fill multiple chests, while showcasing the domestic arts mastery that makes you valuable as a household manager. Your jewellery collection grows through family heirlooms passed down from previous generations, new pieces commissioned specifically for your dowry, and gifts from relatives who contribute to your marriage preparation. Each necklace, ring, and brooch carries monetary value that could provide emergency funds during difficult times, while also serving as visible symbols of your social status and family connections that will announce your importance in your new household. The household goods that accompany your marriage include everything from cooking vessels and serving pieces to furniture and decorative objects that will help establish your new home according to standards appropriate to your noble status. You learn to evaluate the quality of different materials, understand the social significance of various decorative styles, and appreciate how these possessions will reflect on your family's reputation and your own taste. Your monetary dowry requires complex negotiations between families as fathers calculate appropriate amounts that balance generous provision for their daughters with practical limitations of available resources. You listen to discussions about interest rates, property values, and investment opportunities that will generate income to support your future household, while ensuring that your dowry enhances rather than burdens your family's financial position. The legal documents that formalize your dowry arrangements transform your possessions into complex property rights that will govern your financial security throughout your married life. You learn to understand contracts that specify which items remain your personal property, which assets your husband may use but not sell, and which portions of your dowry might return to your family if your marriage ends through death or annulment. Historians still argue whether medieval dowries primarily benefited women by providing financial security or disadvantaged them by treating wives as expensive purchases, but surviving records suggest that substantial dowries often gave noble women considerable influence within their marriages while ensuring their material comfort regardless of their husband's financial fortunes. The land holdings that sometimes comprise part of your dowry connect you to specific geographic locations and feudal obligations that will influence your family's political relationships for generations. You study maps that show properties associated with your name, learn about the tenants and agricultural resources that generate income from these lands, and understand how real estate transfers affect broader patterns of noble power and influence. The peculiar medieval custom of competitive dowry display means that your possessions will be publicly exhibited during marriage negotiations, allowing potential suitors and their families to evaluate your material worth alongside your personal qualities. The visual impact of your accumulated treasures becomes as important as their monetary value, requiring careful attention to presentation and organization that showcases your family's generosity. Your dowry anxiety grows as you approach marriageable age and realize that these material preparations represent your primary security in an uncertain future where your happiness and comfort depend largely on possessions rather than personal earning ability. The weight of responsibility for maintaining and protecting these valuable items adds pressure to your daily life while emphasizing your economic dependence on family provision. The storage and protection of dowry items require constant vigilance against theft, damage, and deterioration that could reduce their value or symbolic significance. You learn to wrap textiles properly to prevent insect damage, store metals in ways that prevent tarnishing, and organize documents that prove ownership and authenticity of various valuable pieces. The seasonal additions to your dowry collection reflect your family's ongoing commitment to maximizing your marriage prospects through generous material provision that demonstrates both current wealth and future earning potential. Holiday gifts, inheritance distributions, and strategic purchases gradually increase your dowry's value while showcasing your family's continued prosperity and social ambition. The cultural significance of specific dowry items varies according to regional traditions and family customs that connect your possessions to broader patterns of social meaning and religious symbolism. Certain objects carry special importance for their historical associations, religious significance, or connection to family traditions that enhance their value beyond simple monetary worth. The practical planning required for dowry transport and delivery involves coordinating complex logistics that ensure your possessions arrive safely at your new home while maintaining their condition and demonstrating appropriate ceremony during the transfer process. The public movement of dowry goods becomes a social event that announces your marriage and showcases your family's wealth to the broader community. The insurance arrangements that protect valuable dowry items reflect medieval understanding of the various risks that threaten portable wealth, from highway robbery and shipwreck to fire and war that could destroy years of careful accumulation in moments of catastrophe. Your family explores various strategies for protecting their investment in your future, while ensuring that disasters don't completely eliminate your material security. The appraisal processes that establish official values for dowry items require expert evaluation that considers current market conditions, artistic merit, and social significance alongside basic material worth. Professional assessors examine your possessions with the same care that merchants use to evaluate trade goods, ensuring that legal documents accurately reflect the true value of your family's contributions to your marriage. The emotional attachment that develops between you and your dowry possessions creates complex feelings about the approaching transfer of ownership that will accompany your marriage. Items that represent family history, personal accomplishment, or childhood memories become symbols of the identity you'll leave behind when you assume your new role as wife and household manager in an unfamiliar setting. As your dowry preparation nears completion, you begin to understand how these material provisions represent your family's love and concern for your future welfare. Their assessment of your value as a daughter and future wife, and their hopes for the social and economic success that will justify the substantial investment they have made in your marriage prospects and long-term security. The Great Hall echoes with nervous energy as you prepare for your first formal meeting with a potential suitor, your heart beating rapidly beneath the elaborate gown chosen specifically to showcase your family's wealth and your own carefully cultivated beauty. You stand beside your parents, maintaining the perfect posture that years of training have made second nature, while servants bustle about arranging furniture and refreshments for the delicate diplomatic dance that will determine whether this particular young nobleman might become your future husband. Your introduction to potential marriage partners follows strict protocols designed to allow both families to evaluate compatibility while maintaining the social distance appropriate for unmarried young people. You exchange carefully rehearsed greetings with the visiting nobleman, offer polite responses to his equally formal questions, and participate in structured conversations that reveal personality traits and intellectual capabilities without compromising the propriety that medieval society demands from unmarried couples. The preparation rituals that precede these crucial meetings consume entire days as servants arrange your appearance, select appropriate clothing, and coach you on conversation topics that will showcase your education while avoiding controversial subjects. Your hair receives special attention with elaborate braiding and ornamental decoration. Your gown undergoes final adjustments to ensure perfect fit and presentation. And your jewellery selection balances impressive display with tasteful restraint that suggests both wealth and good judgment. The evaluation process that occurs during these formal meetings extends far beyond simple personal attraction to include detailed assessment of family connections, financial resources, political allegiances, and social compatibility that will determine whether marriage negotiations should proceed. You observe your potential suitor's manners, education, and bearing while knowing that he's simultaneously judging your appearance, accomplishments, and suitability as a future wife and mother. Your performance during these crucial encounters requires balancing multiple competing demands as you attempt to appear attractive and accomplished without seeming forward or immodest, intelligent but not threatening, and interested while maintaining appropriate reserve. The social skills developed through years of training in deportment, conversation, and graceful behaviour become essential tools for navigating these high-stakes social situations. The architectural staging of these meetings transforms familiar spaces into formal presentation venues where every detail contributes to overall impressions. Tapestries displaying your family's heraldic symbols provide visual reminders of your lineage. Fine table settings demonstrate household wealth and sophistication, and strategic lighting creates flattering atmospheric conditions that enhance your physical appearance while maintaining dignified formality. The family representatives who accompany potential suitors often prove as important as the young men themselves, as mothers-in-law, fathers-in-law, and other relatives will significantly influence your future happiness and social position if marriage arrangements proceed. You learn to read the subtle cues that indicate family approval or concern, understanding that gaining acceptance from your suitor's relatives may prove more challenging than attracting the nobleman himself. Your musical and artistic accomplishments receive particular showcase during these formal meetings, as you perform carefully selected pieces that demonstrate your cultural refinement without appearing to seek excessive attention or praise. The songs you choose, the instruments you play, and the needlework you display all send messages about your education, taste, and suitability for the sophisticated social role that noble wives must fulfill. The refreshment service during these meetings provides opportunities for demonstrating household management skills while creating natural conversation opportunities that reveal personality traits and social capabilities. You observe how visiting families interact with your servants, how they appreciate the food and drink selections, and how they respond to the hospitality that reflects your family's generosity and organisational competence. Historians still argue whether medieval courtship allowed genuine emotional connection between potential spouses or merely provided opportunities for strategic evaluation disguised as social interaction. But surviving letters and contemporary accounts suggest that some couples developed real affection during these formal meetings, while others approached them as purely business transactions. The geographical considerations that influence marriage negotiations often mean that potential suitors travel considerable distances to meet you, creating additional pressure on first impressions while limiting opportunities for extended acquaintance that might allow deeper personal connection. You understand that these brief encounters may determine your entire future happiness, making every word and gesture critically important for your long-term welfare. The peculiar medieval custom of gift exchange during courtship visits allows both families to demonstrate wealth and generosity while providing tangible symbols of serious marriage intentions. You receive carefully chosen presents that reflect your suitor's family's assessment of your status and interests. while your family offers reciprocal gifts that maintain appropriate balance in the developing relationship. Your chaperonage during these meetings ensures that propriety remains uncompromised, while allowing sufficient interaction for meaningful evaluation of compatibility and attraction. Parents, relatives, and trusted servants maintain careful supervision that protects your reputation while enabling the social contact necessary for informed marriage decisions. The conversation topics considered appropriate for these formal encounters range carefully between subjects that allow intellectual exchange without straying into controversial or improper territory. You discuss literature, music, religious matters, and family histories while avoiding political disputes, personal feelings, or any topics that might compromise the decorous atmosphere essential for maintaining your reputation. The physical arrangements of meeting spaces reflect medieval understanding of appropriate social distance and proper supervision, with furniture placement, lighting, and architectural features all designed to facilitate convivium while preventing the privacy that could lead to inappropriate intimacy or compromising situations that might damage either party's reputation. The seasonal timing of courtship visits often influences their character and success, as different times of year provide various opportunities for showcasing your accomplishments and family resources. Spring meetings might feature garden tours that display your botanical knowledge. Summer visits could include outdoor entertainment that demonstrates your social graces. Autumn encounters often emphasize harvest abundance that reflects family prosperity, while winter meetings focus on indoor accomplishments and intellectual pursuits. The time limitations imposed on these formal meetings create artificial urgency that intensifies every interaction, while preventing the natural development of acquaintance that might occur under less structured circumstances. You learn to make rapid assessments of character and compatibility, while presenting your own best qualities within severely constrained timeframes. The competitive aspects of courtship become apparent as you realize that other eligible daughters may be meeting the same potential suitors, creating subtle rivalry that adds pressure to your performance, while emphasizing the importance of distinguishing yourself through superior accomplishments. Greater beauty, or more attractive dowry provisions. The diplomatic skills required for successful courtship meetings extend beyond personal charm to include understanding the complex political and economic factors that influence marriage negotiations between noble families. You learn to recognize when conversations touch on sensitive alliance issues, territorial disputes, or financial arrangements that could affect your family's broader interests. The cultural differences that emerge when meeting suitors from different regions or countries add complexity to evaluation processes while providing insights into the various lifestyle adaptations that marriage might require. You consider how different family traditions, religious practices, and social customs might affect your future happiness and personal development. The psychological pressure of constant evaluation during formal meetings affects your natural personality expression, as you struggle to present authentic aspects of your character while conforming to social expectations that may conflict with your genuine preferences and inclinations. The tension between being yourself and being what others expect creates internal conflicts that complicate decision-making processes. The parental involvement in courtship meetings reflects medieval understanding of marriage as alliance between families rather than simply union between individuals, with parents often more influential than the potential spouses themselves in determining whether relationships progress toward formal engagement and marriage contracts. As your experience with formal suitor meetings accumulates, you begin developing more sophisticated understanding of masculine character assessment, family political dynamics, and the subtle negotiations that determine whether initial introductions evolve into serious marriage discussions that could transform your theoretical future into concrete reality. The heavy oak table in your father's private chamber becomes the battlefield where your future unfolds through careful negotiations that treat your marriage as a complex business transaction requiring diplomatic skill, financial acumen, and political wisdom that will bind two families together for generations. You sit silently in the corner, officially present but expected to remain voiceless, while men discuss the terms that will govern your entire adult life. Learning through observation how medieval society transforms personal relationships into elaborate contracts that serve broader family interests. Your role as the subject of these negotiations paradoxically excludes you from meaningful participation in decisions that will determine your happiness, financial security, and social position for decades to come. You watch your father present your accomplishments and dowry provisions with the same careful attention to detail that merchants use when selling valuable commodities. While potential fathers-in-law evaluate your worth against their sons' needs and their family's strategic objectives, the preliminary discussions that precede formal negotiations involve extensive research into both families' backgrounds, financial positions, and political relationships that might affect the proposed alliance's success or create future complications. Your family's representatives investigate your potential suitor's character, education, health, and prospects, while his family conducts similar inquiries about your virtues, accomplishments, and the various factors that will determine your value as a wife and future mother. The financial discussions that dominate marriage negotiations reveal the complex calculations that medieval families perform when evaluating potential alliances, balancing immediate dowry benefits against long-term political and economic advantages that successful marriages might provide. You listen to detailed conversations about property values, inheritance rights, and the various monetary arrangements that will ensure both families profit from the proposed union while protecting their existing assets. Your dowry becomes the central focus of intense bargaining as negotiators argue about appropriate amounts, payment schedules, and the specific items that will accompany you into marriage. Every piece of jewelry, every bolt of fabric, every silver vessel receives individual evaluation and discussion, with your father defending the generosity of his provisions while your potential in-laws assess whether the offered dowry justifies their son's availability and their family's acceptance. The itemized inventory process that documents your dowry requires creating detailed lists that specify the condition, value, and provenance of every item you'll bring to your marriage, from inherited family heirlooms to recently commissioned pieces that demonstrate your father's continuing prosperity. These inventories serve legal purposes while providing evidence of your family's wealth and generosity that will influence your standing in your new household. The legal complexities that surround medieval marriage contracts require expert interpretation of inheritance laws, property rights, and the various jurisdictional issues that govern unions between families from different regions or social levels. Scribes and legal advisors explain the implications of different contract terms, ensuring that both families understand their obligations and protections while avoiding agreements that might create future disputes or financial disadvantages. Your fertility potential becomes an uncomfortable topic of discussion as negotiators consider your age, health, and family medical history to assess your likelihood of producing the heirs that will justify their investment in your marriage. These conversations treat your reproductive capacity as another asset to be evaluated alongside your dowry and accomplishments. reducing your most intimate future experiences to cold calculations about bloodline continuation and inheritance security. The political dimensions of marriage negotiations often prove as important as financial considerations, as families evaluate how proposed unions might affect their relationships with other noble houses, their standing at court, and their influence into regional power structures. Your marriage becomes a tool for advancing family ambitions that extend far beyond personal happiness into realms of territorial control, trade relationships, and diplomatic alliances. The strategic mapping that accompanies political discussions involves analysing how your marriage might strengthen existing alliances, create new opportunities for territorial expansion, or provide protection against potential enemies who threaten either family's interests. These geopolitical considerations often outweigh personal compatibility in determining whether negotiations proceed toward formal agreements. Historians still argue whether medieval marriage negotiations primarily served families' strategic interests or attempted to ensure compatibility and happiness for the actual spouses. But surviving contracts suggest that most arrangements prioritize political and economic benefits while hoping that personal satisfaction would develop naturally over time. The timeline discussions that determine when your marriage will occur reflect complex considerations about optimal timing for both families, balancing your readiness for adult responsibilities against seasonal celebrations, political developments, and financial preparations that require careful coordination. These scheduling decisions often ignore your personal preferences while accommodating the broader strategic needs that drive alliance formation. The peculiar medieval practice of contingency planning means that a marriage negotiations often include detailed provisions for various potential problems, from your premature death or infertility to political changes that might affect family relationships. These morbid discussions treat your marriage as an investment requiring protection against various risks that could eliminate expected benefits or create unexpected obligations. Your future living arrangements become subjects for detailed negotiation as families decide whether you'll reside in your husband's family home, establish an independent household, or rotate between different properties according to seasonal patterns or political necessities. These decisions will determine your daily environment and social contacts for years to come. Yet you remain excluded from discussions about preferences that will profoundly affect your personal comfort and happiness. The staffing arrangements that will support your future household require negotiations about which servants might accompany you from your family home, what new staff your husband's family will provide, and how domestic authority will be distributed between you and existing household managers. These discussions determine the practical framework within which you'll exercise your domestic responsibilities as a married woman. The religious aspects of marriage contracts receive careful attention, as negotiators ensure that proposed unions comply with church regulations about consanguinity, arrange for appropriate ceremonies that reflect both families' social status, and establish the spiritual framework that will govern your married life according to medieval Christian expectations about sacramental relationships. The household management responsibilities that will transfer to you upon marriage become topics for explicit discussion as families clarify expectations about your future duties, the resources that will be available for household operation, and the staff arrangements that will support your domestic authority. These conversations reveal how your carefully acquired skills will be applied in specific practical contexts. The cultural adaptation requirements that arise when marriage negotiations involve families from different regions or traditions add complexity to contract discussions as negotiators consider how varying customs, languages, and social practices might affect marital harmony and family integration. Your ability to adapt to unfamiliar cultural contexts becomes another factor in evaluating marriage feasibility. The dispute resolution mechanisms built into marriage contracts reflect medieval understanding that even carefully negotiated agreements might require future modification or interpretation when circumstances change or disagreements arise. These provisions attempt to prevent family conflicts that could destroy the alliances that marriages are designed to create and strengthen. The ceremonial arrangements that will accompany your wedding become subjects for detailed planning, as families coordinate elaborate celebrations designed to announce their alliance, while demonstrating the combined wealth and social importance to the broader noble community. These festivities often cost more than many families' annual incomes, while serving important political and social functions. The inheritance provisions that govern what will happen to various properties and assets if your marriage ends through death or other circumstances require complex legal arrangements that protect both families' interests while ensuring your financial security in various potential scenarios. These discussions treat your widowhood as a probable eventuality requiring advanced planning. The final contract drafting transforms weeks or months of negotiation into the formal legal documents that bind both families to specific obligations, while creating the framework for your new legal identity as a married woman with defined rights and responsibilities. The elaborate seals and signatures that formalize these agreements mark the end of your childhood and the beginning of your adult life as someone's future wife. As negotiations near completion, you begin to understand how your individual desires and preferences have been subordinated to broader family strategies that treat your marriage as one element in generational planning designed to advance your bloodline's prosperity and social position, while hoping that personal happiness will emerge naturally from strategically sound arrangements. The formal betrothal ceremony transforms your theoretical future into binding reality as you stand before assembled witnesses, while sacred vows and legal commitments create unbreakable bonds between you and your intended husband. Your hands tremble slightly as rings are exchanged, gifts are presented, and ancient words spoken in Latin seal your fate according to both divine and earthly law, marking the beginning of your transformation from daughter to bride-in-waiting who belongs neither fully to her birth family nor yet to her future husband's household. Your engagement period stretches before you like a bridge suspended between two different lives, filled with anticipatory excitement, growing anxiety, and the countless preparations that will ready you for the momentous transition from maiden to wife. You spend these precious months in careful balance between your current identity and your approaching new role, learning to think of yourself as someone's intended partner while still maintaining the innocence and separation that medieval society demands from unmarried women. The betrothal ring that now adorns your finger serves as a constant reminder of your changed status and approaching transformation, its weight both comforting and sobering as you adjust to wearing the symbol that announces your unavailability to other potential suitors while marking you as someone's promised bride. You learn to display this precious circlet appropriately, understanding that its visibility communicates important information about your family's alliance and your own approaching transition to married life. The gift exchanges that punctuate your engagement period create tangible symbols of the growing relationship between your families, while demonstrating continued commitment to the marriage alliance, despite the time that must pass before final vows. You receive jewelry, clothing, and household items from your intended husband's family, while your own relatives send reciprocal presents that maintain appropriate balance in the developing relationship and show respect for your future in-laws. Your correspondence with your betrothed, carefully supervised and limited to appropriate topics, provides your first opportunity for direct communication with the man who will soon become your husband and master. These formal letters, often composed with assistance from family members or tutors, allow you to begin developing personal connection while maintaining the proper distance and decorum that engagement etiquette requires throughout the pre-marriage period. The supervised visits that occasionally bring you and your intended husband together under carefully controlled circumstances offer glimpses into your future relationship while maintaining the appropriate separation that protects both your reputations and your family's honour. These brief encounters become precious opportunities to observe your betrothed's character, mannerisms, and personality traits that will significantly influence your future happiness and compatibility. The public recognition of your engagement changes your social status in subtle but important ways as other noble families acknowledge your upcoming transition, while treating you with the respect due to someone who will soon join their social circle as a married woman. You notice differences in how servants address you, how other nobles include you in conversations, and how your opinions receive slightly more serious consideration as evidence of your approaching adult authority. Your trousseau preparation intensifies during the engagement months, as seamstresses create this elaborate wardrobe that will announce your new status as a married noblewoman while reflecting your husband's wealth and your own refined taste. Each gown requires careful planning to ensure appropriate styles for different occasions, from intimate family gatherings to formal court appearances that will showcase your family's alliance and your personal accomplishments. The fabric selections for your wedding trousseau involve choosing materials that balance luxury with practicality, ensuring that your new wardrobe will serve you well in various social situations while demonstrating the wealth and taste that mark you as worthy of your elevated married status. Silk imported from distant lands, wool dyed with expensive pigments, and linen woven to impossibly fine standards create garments that will last for years while maintaining their impressive appearance. The religious instruction that accompanies your engagement period focuses specifically on the spiritual dimensions of marriage as a sacred sacrament that creates mystical union between husband and wife, while establishing the foundation for Christian household management. You receive special guidance about wifely duties, the spiritual significance of submission to masculine authority, and the prayers that will sustain you through the challenges of married life. Historians still argue whether medieval engagement periods provided genuine opportunities for emotional preparation and relationship development, or merely served as extended business negotiations disguised as romantic courtship. But surviving personal accounts suggest that some couples used these months to develop real affection, while others remained essentially strangers until their wedding days. The household management preparation that intensifies during the engagement involves detailed instruction about your future responsibilities, including tours of your intended home, meetings with key servants, and practice sessions that familiarize you with the specific systems and traditions that govern your husband's family's domestic operations. You learn the particular preferences, routines, and expectations that will shape your daily life as mistress of your new household. The inventory management skills that you practice during an engagement become increasingly sophisticated as you learn to oversee the complex systems that track household resources, coordinate seasonal activities, and ensure that domestic operations run smoothly regardless of changing circumstances. These practical exercises prepare you for the administrative responsibilities that will consume much of your time as a married woman with authority over substantial household resources. The peculiar medieval custom of gradual identity transition means that during engagement you begin adopting certain aspects of your future role while maintaining others from your current status, creating a complex period of partial transformation that prepares you psychologically for the complete change that marriage will bring to every aspect of your existence. Your family relationships undergo subtle shifts during the engagement period as relatives begin treating you as someone who will soon belong primarily to another household, while simultaneously offering increased attention and affection during these final months of your membership in your birth family. These bittersweet changes foreshadow the emotional complexity of leaving your childhood home forever. The educational supplements that fill your engagement months include intensive instruction in any skills or knowledge areas that require strengthening before you assume full responsibility for managing your own household, additional music lessons, advanced needlework techniques, financial management training, and other specialized education ensure that you'll meet your new family's expectations for accomplishment and competence. The social introduction process that occurs during an engagement involves carefully orchestrated meetings with your future husband's relatives, friends, and social connections who will form your new community after marriage. These interactions require demonstrating your worthiness for acceptance while learning the complex relationships and loyalties that will influence your future social position and political standing. The diplomatic training that accompanies these social introductions teaches you to navigate the complex political relationships that connect noble families, understanding which relatives hold influence, which friendships require careful maintenance, and which historical conflicts might create sensitive situations requiring tactful management throughout your married life. The legal preparations that accompany engagement include finalizing marriage contract details, completing dowry transfers, and ensuring that all documentation meets requirements for valid union under both civil and church law. These administrative tasks transform personal commitment into legal obligation, while establishing the framework that will govern your rights and responsibilities as a married woman. The ceremony planning that dominates the later stages of engagement involves coordinating elaborate celebrations that will announce your marriage to the broader community while demonstrating both families' wealth, status, and political connections. Every detail from music and decorations to guest lists and menu selections requires careful consideration to ensure appropriate representation of family honor and social position. The emotional preparation that engagement provides becomes increasingly important as your wedding approaches, and the reality of permanent separation from your birth family creates anxiety alongside anticipation. You learn to manage the conflicting feelings of excitement about your new life and grief about leaving familiar people and places that have shaped your identity since childhood. The spiritual exercises that intensify during engagement include special prayers, confession sessions, and devotional practices designed to purify your soul for the sacred covenant of marriage, while seeking divine blessing for your future happiness and fertility. These religious preparations emphasize marriage as a holy sacrament that requires appropriate spiritual readiness alongside practical preparation. The final weeks of engagement bring increased formality to your interactions with family members and friends, as everyone begins acknowledging the approaching end of your current life phase and the beginning of your transformation into a married woman with entirely different obligations, loyalties, and social identity. As your engagement period draws toward its conclusion, you find yourself caught between eagerness to begin your adult life and reluctance to abandon the security and familiarity of your childhood home. Understanding that marriage will bring both opportunities and responsibilities that will challenge every aspect of your carefully cultivated identity while offering the chance for happiness, influence, and fulfillment within the role that medieval society has designed for women of your noble station. The sacred rituals that prepare your soul for marriage begin weeks before your wedding ceremony, transforming your final days as an unmarried woman into a profound spiritual journey designed to purify your heart and align your will with divine purpose. You kneel before the family chaplain in the small chapel that has witnessed your prayers since childhood, confessing sins both real and imagined, while seeking absolution that will allow you to enter marriage with a clean conscience and pure intentions that honour the sacramental nature of your approaching union. Your spiritual preparation involves intensive study of scriptures that define marriage as a holy covenant reflecting the mystical relationship between Christ and his church, requiring you to understand your future role not merely as a wife, but as a sacred partner in God's plan for human happiness and procreation. The biblical passages about submission, love, and mutual responsibility become daily meditations that shape your understanding of the divine dimensions underlying what might otherwise seem like purely social and economic arrangements. The special masses that mark your approaching transition from maiden to wife create solemn moments of reflection where you contemplate the magnitude of the commitment you're about to make before God and humanity. You receive communion with particular reverence during these services, understanding that each sacred meal strengthens your spiritual foundation for the challenges and joys that married life will bring to your previously sheltered existence. Your confessor provides detailed guidance about the spiritual aspects of married intimacy, explaining how physical union between husband and wife serves divine purposes beyond mere pleasure, while maintaining the modesty and innocence that medieval society expects from well-bred young women approaching their wedding beds. These delicate conversations balance practical instruction with religious teaching that frames marital relations as sacred acts requiring appropriate attitudes and behaviours. The prayer vigils that occupy your final unmarried nights involve hours of devotional meditation designed to strengthen your spiritual resources for the lifelong commitment you're about to undertake. You spend these precious hours asking for divine guidance in fulfilling your wifely duties, seeking blessing for your future fertility, and requesting protection against the various dangers that threaten married women in an uncertain world where childbirth, disease, and political turmoil could destroy happiness without warning. Your spiritual wardrobe receives special attention as you select garments appropriate for religious ceremonies that will mark different stages of your wedding preparation and celebration. The white fabrics that symbolize your purity, the blue elements that honor the Virgin Mary's maternal example, and the gold accents that reflect divine glory all require careful coordination to ensure your appearance honors both earthly celebration and heavenly significance. The relics and holy objects that you'll carry into marriage become sources of comfort and spiritual protection that will accompany you throughout your adult life. Your prayer book receives special blessing. Your rosary is touched to sacred relics that enhance its spiritual power, and small religious medals are sewn into your wedding garments to provide invisible protection against evil influences that might threaten your marriage or fertility. Historians still argue whether medieval spiritual marriage preparation primarily served religious purposes or functioned as psychological conditioning that encouraged feminine submission to patriarchal authority. But surviving devotional texts suggest that many women found genuine comfort and strength in the religious framework that defined their approaching transformation from daughters to wives. The fasting and dietary restrictions that precede your wedding ceremony serve both spiritual and practical purposes, purifying your body while demonstrating your commitment to self-discipline and religious obedience that will characterize your approach to married life. You learn to find spiritual meaning in physical sacrifice while preparing your body for the feast celebrations that will mark your wedding and the transition to your new household. The peculiar medieval belief that spiritual purity could influence physical fertility means that your religious preparation includes specific prayers and devotions designed to ensure successful conception and safe childbirth in your future married life. These intimate spiritual exercises connect your personal holiness to your biological destiny, while reinforcing the religious significance of your reproductive role in medieval society. Your family's spiritual preparation involves collective prayers, special masses, and devotional activities that seek divine blessing for the alliance your marriage will create, while asking protection against any spiritual dangers that might threaten the union's success. These communal religious exercises reinforce the understanding that your marriage serves purposes beyond personal happiness, contributing to your family's spiritual welfare and social advancement. The patron saints who will protect your marriage receive special veneration during your pre-wedding spiritual preparation. As you learn about their lives, memorize prayers for their intercession, and establish devotional relationships that will provide spiritual support throughout your married life. These heavenly advocates offer models of virtue while providing supernatural assistance for the challenges that medieval wives face in their daily lives. The spiritual counseling that accompanies your final preparation addresses the emotional and psychological challenges of transitioning from protected daughter to responsible wife, helping you understand how religious faith can provide strength during difficult periods while maintaining the optimistic trust in divine providence that medieval Christianity requires from faithful believers facing uncertain futures. The blessing ceremonies that mark your final days as an unmarried woman involve family members, friends, and religious authorities who invoke divine protection for your approaching transformation, while celebrating the spiritual significance of your marriage as a continuation of God's plan for human community and family life. The sacramental understanding of marriage that shapes your spiritual preparation emphasizes that your wedding vows will create permanent, indissoluble bonds that connect you to your husband through divine as well as human authority, making your commitment irreversible regardless of future difficulties or changes in personal feelings that might affect your relationship. The prayers for your future children begin even before your marriage, as you ask divine blessing for the souls who might be entrusted to your care, while preparing spiritually for the maternal responsibilities that medieval society considers the primary purpose and greatest fulfillment of feminine existence within the married state. The spiritual gifts that you'll bring to your marriage include not just personal devotion, but also the religious knowledge and practices that will help you guide your future household spiritual life. From leading family prayers to organizing charitable activities that demonstrate your family's commitment to Christian virtue and social responsibility. The final confession before your wedding involves complete spiritual cleansing that prepares your soul for the sacramental transformation of marriage, while ensuring that you approach your new life free from any sins or spiritual burdens that might interfere with divine blessing for your union and future happiness. The meditation exercises that fill your last unmarried hours focus your thoughts on the sacred nature of the commitment you're about to make, helping you understand that your marriage vows will transform you not just socially, but spiritually, creating new obligations and opportunities for serving God through faithful fulfillment of your duties as wife, household manager, and future mother. As your spiritual preparation reaches completion, you find peace in understanding that your marriage serves divine purposes beyond personal desire, that your future challenges will be supported by supernatural grace, and that your transformation from maiden to wife represents not just social advancement but spiritual evolution toward the mature Christian womanhood that medieval society considers the highest achievement possible for women of noble birth and proper education. The final sunrise of your unmarried life streams through your bedchamber windows with a golden light that seems different from every dawn that came before, illuminating the carefully arranged wedding garments that will transform you from daughter to bride before this day ends. You lie quietly beneath familiar coverlets in the room where you've slept since childhood, listening to the sounds of servants preparing for the elaborate ceremony that will mark your transition from one life to another, understanding that you'll never again wake in this chamber as the person you've been for all your remembered years. Your wedding morning begins with ritual bathing that symbolically cleanses away your former identity while preparing your body for the sacred transformation that marriage will bring to every aspect of your existence. The warm water, scented with rose petals and blessed herbs, washes over skin that will soon belong not just to yourself but to your husband, while trusted servants attend your ablutions with the reverent care appropriate for preparing a sacrifice for divine altar. The elaborate process of wedding dress preparation transforms your familiar body into a living symbol of your family's wealth, your personal virtue, and the sacred significance of the marriage covenant you're about to enter. Layer upon layer of precious fabrics, each requiring careful arrangement and adjustment, create the magnificent presentation that will announce your transformation while demonstrating the prosperity and taste that make you worthy of your elevated new position. Your hair receives special attention as skilled servants arrange your tresses according to traditional patterns that announce your transition from maiden to wife. Incorporating family heirlooms and precious ornaments that have adorned brides in your lineage for generations, the elaborate braiding and decoration require hours of patient work while creating a crowning glory that will remain perfect throughout the long ceremony and celebration that will formalize your new status. The jewelry that adorns your wedding costume includes not just your own treasures, but family pieces that connect you to previous generations of noble wives, while announcing your worthiness to join the ranks of married women whose lives have been dedicated to serving their families' honor and prosperity. Each precious ornament carries history and meaning that extends far beyond mere decorative value into realms of tradition and continuity. Your final breakfast as an unmarried woman takes place in the familiar solar where you've shared countless meals with family members who gathered around this table throughout your childhood and youth. The simple foods taste different somehow, tinged with anticipation and melancholy, as you realize that your next meal will be served in your new home among people who are still strangers, despite the alliance that will soon make them your closest relatives. The emotional farewells that punctuate your wedding morning create bittersweet moments as family members express their love and hopes for your future happiness, while acknowledging that your departure will leave permanent emptiness in the household that shaped your character and nurtured your growth from infant to accomplished young woman ready for marriage and motherhood. Your mother's final instructions about marriage, household management, and the various responsibilities that will govern your adult life provide practical guidance mixed with emotional support as she shares wisdom gained through her own experience while expressing confidence in your ability to meet the challenges that await every woman who assumes the complex role of noble wife. The blessing ceremony that marks your departure from your childhood home involves prayers, sacred rituals, and the formal transfer of authority from your father to your husband-to-be, symbolically representing your transition from one family's protection to another's guidance, while maintaining the religious framework that sanctifies these earthly arrangements. The procession that carries you from your birth home to your wedding ceremony creates a public spectacle that announces your family's alliance, while displaying the wealth and social importance that justify the elaborate celebration of your marriage. The decorated carriage, the accompanying retinue, and the ceremonial elements all serve to impress observers while honouring the significance of the union about to take place. Historians still argue whether medieval brides typically felt joy or terror during their wedding processions, but surviving accounts suggest that most young women experienced complex mixtures of excitement, anxiety, pride, and sensibility. They travelled towards those ceremonies that would determine their entire future happiness and social position. The church ceremony that transforms you from maiden to wife unfolds according to ancient rituals that connect your personal commitment to centuries of Christian tradition, while creating legal and spiritual bonds that will govern your relationship with your husband throughout your married life. The Latin words that formalize your union carry weight beyond their immediate meaning, establishing obligations and privileges that extend far beyond personal emotion into realms of law and divine authority. The wedding feast that celebrates your new status provides opportunities for both families to demonstrate their prosperity, while creating social bonds that will support your marriage through future challenges and celebrations. The elaborate foods, expensive wines, and entertainment appropriate to noble weddings create memorable experiences while serving important political and social functions that extend the marriage alliance into broader community relationships. The symbolic elements that accompany your wedding celebration, from the specific flowers that decorate the ceremony to the traditional foods that mark the feast, carry meanings that connect your personal experience to ancient customs and beliefs about marriage, fertility, and the divine blessing that sanctifies human unions dedicated to family creation and social continuity. The gifts that you receive from wedding guests create the beginning of your household treasures while demonstrating the social support that surrounds your new marriage, providing both practical items for domestic use and precious objects that announce your status, while serving as investments that could provide security during future difficulties. The dancing and entertainment that enliven your wedding celebration provide final opportunities to display the accomplishments that made you attractive as a marriage partner, while demonstrating the cultural sophistication that marks your family's social position and educational investments in your preparation for noble wifehood. The evening transition that moves you from public celebration to private intimacy with your new husband creates the most significant moment of your transformation from maiden to wife, requiring courage, trust, and the faith that divine blessing will guide you through this final step in your journey from daughter to married woman. As darkness falls on your wedding day, you find yourself in unfamiliar chambers surrounded by new possessions, and facing a future that will challenge every aspect of your carefully cultivated identity, while offering opportunities for happiness, influence, and fulfillment that will justify all the years of preparation that brought you to this moment of complete transformation from the girl you were to the woman you will become. The gentle wind through your new bedchamber windows carries the sense of your future life, different flowers from a different garden, different herbs from a different kitchen, different possibilities that stretch ahead like an unwritten book waiting for your story to fill its pages. Your childhood fades into memory like a dream half remembered upon waking, while your adult life begins with the soft whisper of silk sheets and the quiet breathing of your sleeping husband. And the dawn that will rise tomorrow will illuminate a woman you're only beginning to become, shaped by years of careful preparation, but ready now to discover who you truly are beneath all the lessons, expectations, and hopes that carried you safely across the bridge from maiden to wife.